Hello everybody and welcome to another fly tying session with your host Scott. In this session we're going to be tying a pattern called the Czech Nymph. This is a very heavyweight nymph that's meant to be cast upstream so that the fly sinks nice and deep to get down to your grayling on the hole. It's a fly that was designed for grayling fishing, but it will work for trout as well. We're going to need quite a few ingredients for this one. It's not an easy tie, for me anyway. I have literally only tied one before, so bear with me. We're going to be using a dark brown uni thread in 8/0. We're going to need a couple of dubbings. So I'm going to use some squirrel I made earlier. We're going to be using some claret hare's ear for the thorax. We're going to be using a red holographic tinsel for one of the ribs. There are 2 ribs on this fly. I've got some of this invisible tying thread from a sewing shop. We're going to be using that for the second rib. For the shellback, we're going to be using a little bit of black latex. Now I've read somewhere that you can use sandwich bags and then colour it in with a marker. That works quite well. I've got 2 types to try, but we'll come back to that. And we're going to need some lead because it needs to be a heavy fly and it needs to get down quite deep, so we're going to be using a little bit of lead as well. So there we are. First of all, we're going to bed the hook with some thread. I'm going to start at the eye. I'm going to go right round the bend, so about there. And trim away. Now the key to tying this fly is to try and reduce bulk. So you don't want to be tidying up too often because that creates too much bulk. So you need a very short length of lead. Now you can use lead foil. In fact, I recommend that you use lead foil to create your underbody. I haven't got any, I'm afraid, so we're going to make do with what we've got here. So you want the length to be about 2/3 of the body, and you want to tie it in on top of the hook. You can use loose turns to start with just to get it in position. It's not in the right position, I'm afraid. There we are, that's in the right position. And then you want to get a second piece of lead, probably about half the length of the body. And tighten about there. Whoops. If it does that, just pull it back round. And there we are, and that's our underbody. Now we're going to tidy up and try and get rid of the steps. Now we're going to come back onto the top of the hook, and then we're going to tie in our ribbing materials and the shellback. So we're going to start with the shellback. Now this stuff is too thick as it is. It's a good, I think it's 10mm thick, maybe even 8. You want to cut that in half, right down the middle, and then maybe taper it off at the end like that. So tie it in at the tapered end. It's got to be directly on the top of the hook. In fact, if you can wrap it around the hook before you tie it in, even better. There we go. Then we're going to get our holographic tinsel. Tie that in on your near side. Just a few turns to lock it off. And then you're going to get your invisible thread. And tie that in on the far side. And then you want to tidy up ready for your dubbing. Go right the way down to where you want the fly to start on the bend. Oops, try not to catch the point of the hook. There we are, that's suitably tidied up. And we've got a nice underbody as well, the shape's just right. It looks like we've got the squeaky bobbin tonight. So then we're going to go for the squirrel dubbing. Generally you can tie these in any colour that you like. But generally you start with a lighter dubbing and you have a thorax and a darker dubbing. So we're going to pick some of the under fur and some of the guard hairs as well. We want it to be quite leggy, this one. There's no need to taper the dubbing. You put it on at the same thickness all the way through because you've already done the body shaping. You want it to be quite thin. You don't want this fly to be too bulky. The idea is it's supposed to sink quickly. And that will probably do it for the body. You want it to be about 2/3 to 3/4 of the hook. Then we're going to wind our rib. Use the same technique that you do with the buzzers. Put your finger there and hold it in place where you want it. Now the reason we're using a red holographic tinsel is because I was trying to get some red into the pattern for attracting grayling, because grayling really like red. And this shade of squirrel fur seems to match the natural caddis that are in the river that I fish over the road. So you tie the red ribbon to where the thorax starts. Then you're going to get your scarlet red dubbing. There's hairs here. It's quite coarse, this stuff as well. So this particular material I've got is really coarse. So it's ideal for tying a leggy thorax. Then we're going to pull the shell back over. Not easy stuff to work with, but you'll get there as long as you're patient. Tie it in really well. Give it a stretch. Make sure it's tight on the body. Give it a gentle tug and cut. If you tug it too hard, it will just come straight from under the turns. Your thread turns. Then you're going to get your invisible thread and you're going to wind. Actually, we'll put a half hitch in there first just to lock it off, because I've been known to bump it off the eye at this point. There we go. And you want to make sure that the turns are in line with the red tinsel. And you create your segmented body. And you can go straight through the thorax with it, all the way to the eye, and then tie it off. Trim away, go to the eye, and then create yourself a nice head. And then whip finish, or half hitch. I'm going to half hitch. And then you're going to get your dubbing brush. This is one I made myself out of a Greg stirrer. And then we're going to give it a good brushing in the thorax area to bring the legs out. And that would probably do it. And then varnish to finish. And there we are, everybody. That's a Czech Nymph. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye for now.